Welcome to the 20s podcast. This is a podcast for the girlies in their 20s who are wanting to live a life to the absolute fullest. We are having conversations that we're passionate about, from personal life, business, relationships, health, wellness, all the things. And we're so happy to be here. I'm your host, Liv.
And I'm Meg.
And welcome to episode 3, everybody.
Yeah, we're here. Episode 3,
Yeah,
2 under our
really
belt,
fun.
which has been so fun. And so hopefully this will just continue to get more and more natural for us. But it really has been so much fun. So we feel so grateful to get to be doing this right now in this season of life.
We're having tons of fun. And it was actually so awesome this weekend. We had a bunch of Meg's friends in town because it was her bachelorette party. And it was so fun hearing just about the podcast from their point of view, and it was so encouraging. Obviously they're our friends, so they're hyping us up and stuff, but at the same time it was just fun to be with other women in their 20s and talking about all the things, and they gave us a lot of good inspiration for future episodes. But
yeah, which is awesome. So we had a crazy week last week.
Yeah,
and
we
so
did have a crazy week.
We just wanted to start things off by catching up a little bit, sharing some life updates.
Because
there's honestly some things Liv and I haven't even been able to catch up on.
We've been together literally all weekend, but we've been with people, and it's been so crazy that we honestly haven't even been able to recap. And we had meetings this morning.
Yeah.
And so honestly, it's perfect because we're actually going to recap together.
Yeah. And so, Liv, I want you to go first because you have some very exciting news.
So if you listened to last week's podcast, I was taking my real estate exam right after we filmed, and I actually passed, which is crazy. To be honest, it was so wild. The exam was 4 hours long. I thought it was going to be 2 hours. So I was super humbled and super hungry and super jittery the entire time because I struggled to eat beforehand. If you listen to the episode, I was having a little bit of a stomach ache. But then the exam was so long, so I was in there forever. And I'm not kidding you, the entire time I was in this exam, I thought I was failing literally the entire time. Although I really prepared for it, it was just so much harder than I expected. So I keep saying it was by the grace of God that I passed. And I was praying throughout it. I was like, Lord, this is a pass-fail exam. I know that you have the power to just make this a pass. So I'm sure my preparation obviously helped get there. But I felt like the grace of God was over me because I literally thought I failed.
Yeah.
But I'm officially almost a real estate agent, which is super wild. And I got my license through the state, and now I'm waiting for my local license. And it's kind of crazy. I can't even believe it.
It is crazy. I'm so proud of you. It's
make me cry.
It's just been really cool though. Like, the Lord put this on your heart back in like early winter, January even. And you were just like, I know I'm supposed to do this. I'm going to do it, and put your head down and grinded for a season and just like relied on the Lord for your strength every day and got up at 5:30 a.m., which I'm not that girl, but you did it. And it's just really cool to just like watch you be so faithful in stepping into a new thing and learn a new thing and do it. And so I'm so happy that you passed.
Thanks, Meg. Yeah, I think it's one of those things for me where I just had this super strong gut feeling. Like I knew I was supposed to do it. And I think that helped me just to get it done quickly because it was like, this is just what I have to do. And so, yeah, I'm just thankful for the leadership over it all and thankful it's done so I can just focus on getting my business launched, which I'm going to do this week, and focus on actually like getting in the action of learning about real estate. So it's kind of like, I'm so excited because all these things make my heart come to life so much. Like I love people so much. I love like buildings development so much. So like the thought of all these worlds colliding makes me so happy. So I'm excited to actually just start. But
makes so much sense.
Yeah, I passed. I honestly was thinking about it during the podcast, guys. I was like, I literally told everybody that I have my exam today and I'm totally failing it right now. So I'm going to have to go onto the podcast and tell everyone that I failed the exam, which is okay because that's part of the process.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I was so scared, you guys, because Liv told me this was like a max a 2-hour exam, and I have her location. This is so on brand for me. And so obviously for the exam, you have to turn your phone completely off, so I can't see her location anymore. And it's like 2 hours go by, 3 hours go by. It's like almost hour 4. And I'm like, either this was a 4-hour exam that she didn't realize it was 4 hours, or she failed and she has hidden herself away somewhere and I need to go find her, like being a sad girl in the Bluffs or something.
Yeah, that's so not me though.
It's not.
I'm a very public sad girl.
Yes.
I'm like, I need to be sad with people, which is maybe a little.
Yeah, I was like, I have no idea how to get connected to her. And I also didn't have my keys that day. And so I just was like, I'm going to leave the apartment, go get a treat for her, and hope that she shows up when I get home because I can't get back in. And you did. It was like perfect timing.
Yeah.
Had a treat, and it was a celebratory treat.
It was a celebratory treat. Either way, the
would've
treat
been
would have
good.
been it would have been needed.
It would have been good.
But yeah, that's that update. So
Yeah.
I'll keep you guys in the loop on my real estate career. We'll see
Live
how it goes.
Listed. Go give it a follow.
Oh yeah, I haven't even launched it yet, but you can go follow at Live Listed. It's kind of a fun name. So yeah.
But that was a
Stay
big,
tuned.
Big
Podcast knows first.
podcast knows first. That's true.
So yeah, the other big thing was we had Meg's bachelorette party this weekend, which was an absolutely incredible fun weekend. And so this is what we haven't really been able to recap yet.
Yeah.
And so I think we got to dive into some of the highs from it.
Some of the highs of it. Yeah. I'll say overall, the thing that I've walked away from the weekend is it was the most restful weekend ever. And it's just been such a crazy season of life that by the grace of God, the bachelorette party was the weekend of rest and being refreshed. But I think that was also just a testimony of Liv and my sister knowing me so well and just like planning the most special weekend to allow me space to connect with all my people and rest and have fun. And it was just so life-giving. It was the best weekend.
It was so fun. And honestly, like Meg's friends are incredible. So it was so fun because like every single world collides.
Yeah.
Because we're 26 and there's so many seasons of life of doing life with people. And how many? I think there was like 15 of us, 14.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
And so it's just so fun connecting with all your people. We had such a good time. We like went out to dinner one night at like our favorite restaurant in La Crosse. And literally, I think there were tears in my eyes as we were eating this food. It was so phenomenal.
It was so good.
Oh my gosh, it was so good. And then the next morning, we went to a Pilates class, which was super fun.
Felt so good to just get up in the morning and move, but it was like 30 minutes, so it was chill.
It was
we
chill.
weren't really breaking a sweat.
Yeah, so that was a good time. And then we just kind of like bopped around. We live in La Crosse, Wisconsin, so we like all went to our favorite coffee shops, grabbed our favorite breakfast sandwiches, and we all came back to our apartment, which right here, and we just had all of your friends here connecting about life, encouraging each other.
And it was, you guys, the most beautiful day. It was March 8th.
It was so nice.
And it, like, normally it'd be freezing. And it was like 50 degrees, sunny. We had the windows open. It felt like such a beautiful spring day. And so that was also just so special to like get to enjoy the weather. And have it be like, oh my gosh, we're coming back to life after the dead of winter.
Literally. Yeah. And then we went to a little shopping. We got all of our friends on our favorite soaps from our favorite little like clean local store. We went to Meg's new house and showed all of her friends from out of town her new place, which I thought was so cool that they were going to be able to like see the before, so that they can like see right how much work that you guys are gonna pour into it and all the love. So that was super fun.
They got to say hi to Nathan, so that was just sweet to be like,
Nathan was in his little working boy clothes. Construction boy clothes, which was cutesy.
Yep.
And then we played lots of fun girly games.
Lots of funny, goofy girly games.
Yes.
If you need some bachelorette ideas, shoot us a DM. Yeah,
shoot us a DM. We'll send them. I'm going to quickly talk about one of my favorite parts of the weekend, which was my high. And so, okay, backstory. Our sweet Meg has had the same bra since 7th grade. And
as you guys heard from the first episode.
Oh, yes.
Never had to upgrade.
What a gift. Think about, you should really gift yourself like a sweet little present from all the money you've saved by not needing to get new bras.
That's true.
Like, that's girl math. Let's justify it. And this bra of hers was literally a little tither-tathered thing. It was worn. It was
stretched out beyond what you could even imagine.
But oh, was she faithful. But it is now time for the bra to finally lay to rest. And unfortunately, it's not something that's going to bless another woman. It needed to die for good.
It did.
And so we decided to burn the bra. And we had some of the girls, they like prepared little poems and speeches about the bra, and it was
iconic.
It was iconic, and I kind of want to insert a clip.
Yeah, we can insert a few little 15-second clips of the words that they said to give you a recap vision into what happened.
Our podcast producer
was
Annie, aka Freddie.
Epic poem
She had
writers.
a word. She had a word
for that bra.
Yeah. Okay, we'll insert a clip.
No more underwires, no more clips.
Yeah!
Just love, laughter, and wedding bliss. Burn, dear bra. Your job is through. She's got support, just not from you.
For me, that was definitely a high. I don't know why. I think it's just because, I mean, I've been with you since 7th grade.
Yeah, she has seen this thing through the ages. But it had to go. It could not enter into married life.
Yeah. So we're now in need of some replacements, but it's good. New things are good.
New
Change
things
is
are
good.
If you have any like good bra recommendations, no underwire, needs to be
Comfy.
comfortable. For like t-shirt bra, let me know, because
we did give her a replacement. We weren't gonna leave her totally hanging for the time being, but you probably could use more than one.
Yep. So that was a pretty great moment from the weekend.
Yeah.
And so I was actually sad about it.
I know.
Before I was like, Liv, I do not want to let this thing go. But it was time.
I know. It was hard. I honestly felt a little bad.
No,
it was like this thing where I was like, oh, I feel for you. And I also love you.
It was the most loving thing you all could have done for me. It was necessary. But
anyways, long live.
Yeah, then we spent the rest of the night just goofy.
Oh, we prank called all the boys.
We prank called all the boys. And so a few of the it was a friend, one of the husbands, and then we prank called Nathan. And so it was hilarious. Yeah, Annie, also Freddie, the podcast producer, was also incredible. We'll probably insert a clip there too, because she was Agent Stevens.
Nathan.
Hello, Mr. Lichtfuss. This is Agent Stevens with the FBI's.
Honestly, ChatGPT, what a time of life that we get to live with AI. Now, I know there's some people have their like hatred towards it, respect, but man, can this tool be used for some good, clean fun. That's what I gotta say.
Yeah, so that gave us some good laughs, was doing some prank calls.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, and then the next day we had your bridal shower. Sunday, we went and we had it at a local coffee shop. They're closed on Sundays. So the coffee shop was actually, Meg and I both worked there, and all of our friends worked there throughout the years. And so it's a place that we hold so dear to our hearts.
So special.
So we decked out Sweet Little Jewel's coffee shop with some pretty flowers and vintage tablecloths and ate some really yummy food. The boys made soup for us, which was so slay of them.
So sweet. It was so cute. They went to the coffee shop the night
my
before
gosh.
and they cooked. It was like, if you're not watching this, you won't be able to see it, but it was the most massive pot of soup. Like,
It was this big.
It was insane.
I didn't tell you this, and honestly, hopefully we don't get in trouble for this, but we can always cut this out. So the Saturday night, I went down to the coffee shop where the boys were making the soup. And we know the owners, and they're the best people, so they just let them in so that they could make the soup on like a nice commercial stove. And the one thing that I know the shop is struggling with, it's an old historic building, and so the heating and cooling, just they have some natural issues with it because it's an old building. And I walk in to the coffee shop. It's like 8 o'clock at night. I'm just dropping off some decor for the bridal shower the next day. And my sweet boyfriend is
oh gosh,
standing there, and he has sweatpants on, and they are like rolled up to his knees because it's like about 80. It's like really hot in there. It's like probably 85 degrees. Like it's hot. And he is having some arm pain right now. So he has his compression sleeves on his arms, and his shirt is off.
Oh gosh.
A sight to behold.
I can imagine it.
I did not know what to do with myself.
Yeah.
I was like, what is going on? Very quickly I realized, it's actually really hot in here. But actually this might be disturbing, and maybe we should cut this whole thing out. But Jacob was cooking this soup with his shirt off, with capri sweatpants on, and with like his compression sleeves. And so to any of the ladies, to any of the 45 ladies that were with us yesterday, the soup was good.
That's hilarious. I don't think there's anything wrong with it because it wasn't like made by the business.
It wasn't sold.
It didn't need to be.
It was just a personal thing.
Yeah.
But more so, I guess, for all the sweet ladies that were there. But honestly, he's a really clean guy.
He is. It's
He has fantastic hygiene. He probably has the best hygiene. So hopefully it's all okay.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Oh,
so that's
man.
a
Okay.
funny little story.
Yeah.
But anyways, the bridal shower was so great.
It was so sweet.
We got to pray over Meg.
Yeah.
The day was like, the weather was so nice.
Yeah, it was incredible. So felt so loved and so encouraged. And I was like, I feel so ready to take on the next 3 months now. And just having all your girls, all the people around you for a weekend, it really is so special.
Yeah.
And feel so grateful to just have the people in my life that I do.
And women are just like the most beautiful ever.
They are.
We just had the best time connecting with the girls. Like, I just feel so grateful for all the women in our life.
Yeah.
And sisterhood's so important. So.
It really is. Feel so blessed.
So that's our little
the
recap.
weekend.
It was so fun.
Yeah.
So actually today, our podcast, we're leaning into some of the conversations we've been having about change specifically. That's just been where we've been at personally and what's been kind of just a part of our natural conversations that we've been having. So today's podcast is on embracing and navigating change.
Yeah.
Because we know that this is such a struggle for people. And although it is really good and really beautiful, change is a necessary good thing. It is so hard. It's isolating. It can be so discouraging. It can feel so lonely if we don't actually like take time to learn how to do it properly. And so that's our topic of our podcast today, is embracing and navigating change.
Yeah. And when we were talking about it, we were like, there really is like 3 types of change, it feels like. There's change that comes with a choice of like, right now I'm choosing to get married, and that is bringing about a ton of change in my life. And then there's forced change, where it maybe isn't you choosing something, but circumstances around you are changing, or a loss happens, or there's something externally that is forcing change upon you. And then there's a change of like unknowns of maybe you're graduating college and you know that there's a change coming, but you don't know what it's going to look like yet. And so I feel like even acknowledging what type of change it is also really helpful, because you have to navigate through each one a little bit differently, but they all kind of have the same sort of thing that come with it. Of there's joys in the change and there's grief in the change, and you have to process through it and invite people into it. And so that's
so
just been helpful for us to like name it, of like, okay, this change is like kind of being forced upon me, but I still have to like embrace it and learn how to navigate through it.
So something that, as we were kind of preparing for the podcast, we wanted to just quickly talk about is just the fact that we have been super imperfect when it comes to change.
Yeah.
Like, we have fallen short so many times. And although that can like really stink, it's also so good. We've learned so much just by not processing through change well. And so, I don't know, there was honestly just like lots of different memories throughout, especially I'll just say the last 6 years of being in my 20s, of just things where I'm like, dang, I really missed the mark in how I approached change and navigating through it. One of them for me that comes like immediately to mind, and I don't know if it's talked about enough, is like the transition to college.
So scary.
Okay, we were just talking about this like maybe a month ago, where we were talking about, why does no one actually talk about how hard it is to transition to college? I think it's just a cultural thing to just like immediately go to universities and to graduate high school and leave. But like the whole concept of like uprooting everything you've ever known and to get shoved into a dorm with like people you don't know who are also in the same exact boat is kind of a crazy concept. Not that it's a bad thing, because was great for us in our growing process. But I know for myself, I did not transition well. At the time, I was going through like a lot of really hard family stuff, just with like grief and loss, all the things. And when I transitioned to college, I feel like I just like let anxiety and like my mental health struggle get the best of me because I didn't know how to process through trauma, process through loss. I ended up just like totally self-isolating. I had depression and anxiety, and I like never left my dorm room what it felt like. And I honestly like didn't even know how to ask for help during that time of my life to navigate through the change. And so, yeah, I think that was one of the things when it came to just like me failing to navigate through change well, was because I just didn't ask for help and I didn't address that change is actually really hard. And going to college is really hard for so many freshmen. And so I know that was like one of my like fails.
Yeah.
Not that it's like, you don't get hard. I'm not like upset at myself or
Yeah.
anything, but I definitely didn't thrive in it.
Right. You were just learning how to like cope in that time.
Yes.
And it just ended up not being the best way to do it.
Right.
But now you can look back on it and use it as like a learning tool of like, okay, when there is something that's really hard or there's a ton of grief and that sort of thing, you know how to let people in or that you need to let people in and not isolate, and maybe your tendency to do that. And so, which is good.
It's all learning lessons.
It all is. Yeah. There's like no pressure to do it perfectly because we never are going to.
No.
You just have to learn how to like grow with falling short in it and learning from how you've done it in the past and from each other. So
we're just human beings. And I honestly have so much like grace and just like, I have such a heart for my freshman year self. Where like looking back, if I could like talk to her, the amount of compassion I would extend to her just like through that process would be like, it would be just like a crazy amount of it. And so I don't know, I think it's good to like look at it from that perspective of like, she didn't do it perfectly, but she didn't know, like she was just doing her the best she could. And so I think that's how we have to approach our just like flops. And
that experience now allows you to meet those girls that are kind of going through the same thing and be like, oh, I see you. And you don't have to do it that way. Like I did it that way, and it's going to lead to life and death and just like self-destruction a bit. And so it's cool to see how even through some of our shortcomings and failures, the Lord will bring people into our lives to get to encourage and spur on, and so they don't have to go through some of the same things that we did or stay in it as long as we maybe did. So
that's good.
Yeah, I think for me, when I was thinking about it, one of the hardest transitions was definitely my post-grad era of life. I ended up graduating college a semester early, and I had gotten a corporate job that wasn't starting for a full 8 months. And so I was like, I'm going to move to La Crosse because I went to UW-Madison and be with Liv. We had Shop 20s at the time. My sister was here. But right when I got to La Crosse, I was like, felt very strongly like I was supposed to stay and give up that corporate job and find a different job. But in the wrestling, I feel like I didn't also handle it the best. And I also was like, I kind of want to leave still. I like know I'm supposed to stay, but I want to leave. So I was applying to jobs like all over the country, which was so silly of me, but just was doing that, every door getting absolutely slammed in my face. But I think the thing I recognized in that season is I did not know how to be present at all. I like knew a change was coming, and I was trying to figure out what the change was or like live in the future of the change, that I wasn't present at all with the people in front of me. And so I feel like I did not invest into relationships or invest into community or even into myself in that season. Like it just felt like such a blur. And in a sense, it kind of felt like it was like I wasted 3 months because I was just so afraid of like what happens if I like make connections and friends here and then I have to uproot and leave. And I was scared of like the loss of that. But I also just wanted to figure it out. And so I was like so in my own head of trying to figure it out. And so I don't know. I think it was just a weird season of like not yet really knowing how to trust God and making a decision and following his voice and his leadership and trying to control everything myself. And also being really afraid of like close connection and like losing people and how you can isolate in that. And so
that's like such a helpful story. I know that's going to relate to so many people because it's so easy to live in the future and to not be present. And I think of people in my life who I know are either maybe they're at a place for a year because they're on an internship, or 8 months
Yeah.
or 6 months.
Yeah.
Something like that. And it's a really tough thing to be in like a transition like that, because you're totally, it's a stepping stone, but there's so much to gain like in wherever we are.
Yeah.
And I think there's a way that we can prepare for the future while also being fully planted where we are. And you do that so well now. And I think, it's like we have to learn how to do that. It's not something that just necessarily comes naturally.
Yeah.
Because our human nature,
You're just trying to like protect yourself.
Exactly.
And you like don't want to like get hurt or lose friends or have to
Yes,
grieve that.
lose
But it arguably is worse to stay isolated than to have to like lose a friendship later on.
That's
And
so good.
It's, definitely, I don't know.
Yeah, think of what could be gained. Or
Exactly.
it's like that silly Dr. Seuss quote that's not that silly, but it's like, it's like,
You got it.
or maybe it's not Dr. Seuss. It's like the one where it's like, we should be so happy that it's like hard to say goodbye. I don't know what quote that is.
I know what you're,
but it's like it's
something
better
like
to
that.
like meet people and build rich community and then get ripped out of it.
Yes.
And like have it hurt and be painful
Right,
than to like
right.
miss out. Our friend Taylor, I feel like, did that so well.
Yeah.
We had a friend who he was here for, was it even a
I think it was only a
half?
year, maybe a year and a half.
And he just like totally immersed himself.
He
like
did.
fully
Threw himself into relationships.
And literally the way that like this guy, even though he was literally only here for a year, maybe year and a half.
And he knew he was
He knew he
like,
was
gonna
leaving the whole
leave.
time, but like the deep connections that we were able to build with him, and he's someone that
The
I like.
life that he brought to our community
my gosh.
as well.
Like totally. Like it would have been such a loss to not have him in our life. And I honestly, like people who do that well, I just have so much respect for.
Yeah,
And
because it was so sad and he had to grieve.
that was
leaving,
so hard.
But he still has all these friends like from back here and
Yeah.
was able to do that exact same thing in his new town.
Yeah. And now we all want to go to Utah.
Yeah,
and
to visit. And so
it honestly, connection just leads to so much fullness of
Yeah.
life. And so it's an important one. It's scary though, but
Yeah.
that's like story is gonna, I think, help people so much.
yeah. So we're still learning so
But,
much,
we're
and
just
every
girls.
season of change is different. And so it's not, I think sometimes we want there to just be this formula of like, okay, change, I have to grieve, I have to do this, and then it's going to feel okay. But it really just looks so different every single time because every type of change is unique. So
Yeah,
just
that's
kind
so
of have to
good.
lean into it.
Yeah, and we know that a lot of you guys are going through so much change.
Yeah.
And so we actually asked on Instagram, we had everyone kind of just write in what changes are they experiencing in their 20s. So we had a lot of responses, which I think just shows the diversity of change in your 20s. So we're going to read some of them to you. And I'm sure that some of you probably fall under one of these categories.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. We just wanted to read it of the changes people are facing, of like, even as a listener to not feel alone, of like,
Yeah.
okay, there's actually other people that are experiencing
yeah.
this right now too. What changes are you facing at the moment? One person said, I have 1 semester post-grad, finishing out a ministry residency, and I have no idea what's next. Did you want to say anything?
No, I just feel.
Yeah. Another person is new to motherhood, which is so sweet.
That's
But I can
crazy.
imagine that's a crazy transition.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, what a transition. I can't.
Oh
That
my
one's
goodness.
like crazy.
Another one says, friendships, I'm 23, balancing my barista job part-time, but also working on God dreams, business ideas, and serving at my home church, which is another area of ministry.
Barista. I love that. That was us.
Yes.
Barista,
The barista,
stewarding God
work,
dreams.
Ministry all at once.
We were there. That was
Yeah.
us in 2021, 22
Yeah.
probably.
It's a fun thing to get to have all
Yeah.
the things, but there is having to learn how to balance
Yeah.
everything. Another person said, learning how to navigate friendships after marriage. Might need to talk to you in a few months.
Nice
Coming
to be in the
soon. Full-time student to full-time job coming this summer. A lot of people transitioning this summer, it seems like, after graduation.
Yeah, it's that time of year. The
Oh,
spring change.
yes.
The transition is in the season.
It really is. I love this one. This girl said, spending one-on-one time with a guy for the first time tonight. That's new.
Crazy.
A first date, first hangout. Spooky.
Spooky.
But
I feel
so
like,
fun.
you know, especially if you're just used to like girls being with the girlfriends to hang out with the guy.
The boys are not like the girlies.
The boys are not like the girlies, but that's so exciting.
Yeah. In same sort of light, but opposite, navigating through a breakup.
Oh, that's
Girly,
so tough.
we feel
Breakups
for
are
you.
so hard.
Navigating a new marriage and finding new friends in the same stage of life.
Wow.
I can imagine, especially sometimes if you're, and really in any stage, just the transition of that. And if you're younger, get married young. Annie, I'm sure our girl has experienced this behind the camera of, she got married, you're 22?
No. She got married
at
age
20 of being in college still and having friends that aren't married. It's just a whole different thing. Okay, let me quick read. A bunch of the rest of these are all about graduating college this spring, applying for jobs, just figuring out what life looks like not being a student. And so that is such a big transition. Oh my goodness.
I think we talked about it the first podcast. It's like marriage, breakups, singleness, school, jobs. Like there's just such a diverse, and there's so much of it. Like you could probably go through a change every single year.
Yeah.
And so we feel you, girls. Some of it we've been through and we've walked through, and we can say like the Lord is going to be faithful. He always will be faithful over all things, period. He's been faithful to us. We've walked through breakups, graduating, jobs, those sorts of things. But we also sit here and we haven't been married yet, and we haven't done those transitions, and we haven't had babies, and so it's kind of fun to be able to empathize with you all in some way, shape, or form. But
I think something we've been saying recently is we've only been walking with the Lord for a few years now, like genuine relationship with God, but that has brought us through quite a variety of seasons of change. And this season is probably one of the biggest changes we've ever personally walked through, but it feels so different because we actually have some like ground to stand on with the Lord of like, okay, God, obviously we know from your word that you're faithful time and time and time again through every generation, but there is something about experiencing it for yourself, of seeing him bring you through hard seasons and good seasons and seasons of change.
Jobs and get us out of college and be faithful to get us jobs and be faithful to encourage us, faithful to lead us into new apartments, new places, and new roommates. Like we've seen him work so many times now, where I have a log of his faithfulness to me, and like it doesn't make it easier sometimes, but my faith is so much stronger, which is so helpful.
And so we just feel so grateful to like have some of that, where it's like, okay, this can feel scary still at times or hard, but it's so encouraging.
He's prepared us for this. He's let us do some reps. Like, I feel like at first it was like doing 1 or 2 push-ups, and now we have to whip out 20. But it's like at least we built up some strength. I don't know.
And how cool is it going to be like 40, 50 years from now of like, okay, that is, a lot of reps under her belt.
Yeah, that's so good.
But
and so I guess with that, we come from a place of, yes, we've experienced some big changes in our 20s, and we also have some to come. And so from that place, we wanted to answer a few of your questions that we also asked for you guys to submit on Instagram of questions that you have about change. And so we're going to try to answer them best from that place, from a place of, hey, we've walked through some stuff, but we also don't have it all figured out, that's for sure. And we need a lot of advice too. So
yeah, for sure. And so with that, we picked 3 questions that we felt like a lot of people could connect with and relate with, and that we had a little something to say about. So the first question was really good. I loved this one. It says, what does it look like to lean on the Lord when learning something brand new for a job, business, or personal thing, especially when it is new? How do you grow into a willingness to try something new with a boldness and passion without fear? Which is loaded. Like that's a loaded question. A loaded question, but I feel like the gist of it is like, how do you grow into a willingness to try something new with a boldness and passion and without fear? Because I think when things are new, the quickest thing to come in is fear, anxiety, being paralyzed. So how do you just step into it with boldness and confidence while also having the humility of like, this is just a new thing?
That's really good. I feel like I need a second to think about it and process for a second, but hopefully the Lord just gives us some good wisdom.
Gives us a little nugget.
Yes, please. Okay, so I think we know that there's people who are like listening to this podcast who have faith in God, and then there's people who don't. And so either way, like, I feel like, well, I guess what I want to preface is I definitely come from a place where I feel like the best way I can speak into this is from my place and me having faith in the Lord and faith that there is something greater. And so I'm going to come from that seat, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I think the thing that I lean on most when doing new things and dreams and things that are new is just the fact that the Lord is good and he works all things together for my good. I believe that to be truth. And I have like total faith that he is going to take care of me and that he's leading me. It's hard for me to imagine myself without God, like without that truth. And that's not from a place of like, oh my goodness, like that's crazy. But I genuinely don't know how people step in faith and do really scary things without having faith in something greater and something greater, like taking care of you and leading you and giving you power and wisdom. Because I know that before I really had that like genuine faith, I had so much fear rushing through my body. Something about God that I love is that God is perfect love, and his perfect love drowns out all fear. And I have like seen that over my life of like me stepping into just like the fullness of who I am, only because the Lord and like his like love has literally covered what I once was, which was an anxious, fearful mess.
It's so real.
And so I think Christians have a superpower, and that's the fact that they get to dream wild dreams with God. They get a wild dose of confidence from something that is so much greater than just a human. It's like a spirit of God living within inside of us. And so I guess for me, that's how I've seen me being able and us being able to do new things, step out in faith, start something. It's not from a confidence that it's just mustered up from within us.
Yeah.
It's from like this like spiritual confidence in the fact that like God is within us, he lives within us, and he's empowering us. And so I guess that's some of my thoughts.
That's so good. I would agree with all of that and echo all of that. The other thing I wanted to add into it was when you are stepping into something new, I think something we've learned, done not great at times, better in probably recent seasons of life, is having this like humble confidence when you're stepping into something new, of going into it with like, I am going to step fully into this thing and give it my all, do my best, but have the humility of the fact that you're not a pro, that you don't 100% know what you're doing, and that you have a lot to learn and a lot of areas to grow in. And so being okay with not being like the expert yet or perfect in it, and asking questions, finding people to mentor you, guide you through it, give you advice, and also just being okay with doing it before you're in this perfected state.
Oh, it's so good.
And so I think that's like a way to step into it without fear, because I think oftentimes fear comes from not feeling like we have it all figured out, or that it's like perfected, or that we have all the skills, but you just get to learn that along the way, which is a really beautiful thing about stepping into new things, is that you get to learn and you get to grow and you get to fail, but that's also how you learn. And so I think you just have to embrace that and be okay with not having it all figured out or knowing it all.
And like we're literally here in that place where we know we're not perfect podcasters or we're the most mature business owners, but we know that we just have to start and humble ourselves and begin. And so Yeah, it's honestly, though, that's like the best thing that we could tell anybody is to just ditch the fear, step in faith, and begin. And so, yeah, that question's so good.
It is good.
And I think it's just within inside all of us because we're all wanting to do something that allows us to be in our fullness and do something that like really fuels our fire and stuff. So that's really good.
Okay, question number 2.
Yeah.
This one I love as well. They're all good questions. You guys are great. But it says, what's your advice for not getting your expectations set on something?
We love this. This question was so perfect because Meg and I both have
different, we fall on different spectrums when it comes to this.
Do you want to go first?
Oh my gosh, did you hear that?
Yeah, that was loud for you.
I'm sorry.
I could crack my neck so loud. Can I do it?
Normally does not happen.
Wait, I did already hit it this morning.
Sorry, it kind of spooked me for a second. I was like,
chiropractors don't watch.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, what's your advice for not getting your expectations set on something? How I kind of perceive this question was, I think sometimes we don't want to get our expectations set on something because we're fearful of disappointment or hurt or pain that could come from having expectations. And so for me, I think I've always been on like the more conservative side or more like fearful side of this of I never get my hopes set on anything. Like I never put my expectations in things. I'm always just kind of like expecting the worst to happen, waiting for the shoe to drop. And that's kind of allowed me to like coast in a sense through life and not have these like massive disappointments at times. But I think it's something I've been learning in this season, that it's like me trying to protect myself by not having any desires or expectations or dreams because I can be so afraid of pain or being hurt. And I feel like I'm protecting myself by doing that, but in reality, I'm hurting myself and I'm not allowing myself to like live in the fullness of life. I feel like so much of life is just like having dreams and having desires and being excited about things and having to be okay with the fact that life doesn't go perfectly and things might just like go wrong at times, but it's a little better and more life-giving to live in hope and learn what my desires are and hopes and dreams are, rather than just like squashing them for this sense of like protection. And then I'm just numb and like, oh, I don't care. And it's like, well, you probably do care. You just aren't even letting yourself care. And then you don't feel anything and you're disassociated. And so I think I've always kind of fallen more on that end, but it's been awesome to learn from Liv, who falls on a very different end, and kind of be able to like learn from each other in things, because not all of it is bad. Of like, we have to have healthy, realistic expectations at times, but there's a way to do that and still not just like live in fear of disappointment.
Because I think something to like what you're saying is that the world needs Megan's hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
Like there's a reason why God put you on the earth and why he made you the way that you are. And the world needs you. Like, I think we kind of forget about sometimes just like the divine nature of God and how he literally knit every single human together, like for a specific purpose. Yeah. And so I think what happens is the world can taint that, like fear and pain and trauma can like taint that like full version of ourselves. Yeah. But we need Megan to dream, and we need her to come to the table with like all that she has. Like we need that, because that's actually how we're going to even experience the fullness of God, is with everybody being in the fullness of themselves. And so that's good. But it's scary. Yeah. And like I know for myself, so Meg mentioned that I kind of am on the opposite end of, I don't even know if it's the opposite end of it.
Yeah, it might not even be a spectrum. But
I think God like has just taught me a lot about dreaming and hoping over the past few years. It has given me a gift to dream and hope. I think that's a part of like my role in my community, is to be someone who dreams big dreams and hopes for big things and contends for big things. But it doesn't make that necessarily easy. If you're like a dreamer or you are really good at having big expectation and having faith for things, something you've probably experienced is major disappointment. Because nonetheless, we are not living in a perfect world. Like the world sucks on this side of heaven. Now, that doesn't mean that good things aren't possible. They totally are. Like God brings his kingdom here and gives us like glimmers of like what is to come, of eternity, of just like good things. But there's still so much pain and sin and illness and disappointment, and people have the ability to hurt people. And so I have a gift to dream, but when you are up here and dreaming and contending for big, beautiful things, the fall is big. And that's something I've had to learn a lot about, is how to be okay with falling. And so something that the Lord has really taught me a ton about is to dream God-sized dreams, expect for supernatural change, but have full confidence and faith that if I fall, when I fall, that the Lord is going to be there to catch me, because it is so painful sometimes to dream. It is one of the most courageous things we can do, is to hope and to dream. And I have struggled so hard. I struggled so hard with things not coming to pass, whether that's like a big, crazy, God-sized dream, or if it's even just a small little expectation that I have in my life for something small and sweet and good, and that not happening. I have been crushed. And something that this fall the Lord was teaching me a ton about was the importance of having God-sized expectation, but not putting my true hope in something happening.
That's
and
good.
Having my hope in God and like his goodness. But what happens is when hope is deferred, it literally makes you sick. And I've seen that in my life. And it is painful to feel sick and ill over hope's not happening. And so with that, it's this really scary thing, because we're going to tell you to like dream and have wild hope and expectation, but we're also going to tell you that you are going to fall sometimes. But we can confidently tell you that the Lord has caught us every single time, and he's healed us, and he's taken care of us, and he's allowed us to like continue forward. So if you're in a position of falling from having hope and expectation and it like being deferred, we just would encourage you to process that emotion honestly with the Lord, get before him, heal, do all the things, because we need you to continue to hope and dream for life to be full and good. So
no, that's really good. Okay, question number 3. Advice for balancing trusting God to lead and seeking out opportunities on my own.
That one's good. I think our best piece of advice would be or something we do in our life is we just walk through open doors. We just use that analogy a lot. If there's things that make sense, that the door is open, or maybe it's just cracked open, just try to walk through that door and allow the Lord to shut it. But your job is to just be faithful and to pursue what is opening. Yeah,
because ultimately God is our leader, but we're also called to be co-laborers with him and move. And so there is something about following him, but you have to do it in a very active sense and not just sit there and wait for something to fall out of the sky and fall into your lap. And so having to keep like pursuing those things that the Lord's putting on your heart and letting him open the doors. So
let's say you're applying for a job.
I
would walk through every single door that's cracked open. So no matter what it is, I would pursue it. That's just my advice. And then, like I said, literally allow the Lord to shut the doors. Like literally allow for it to get slammed in your face. But if you have 3 opportunities on the table, honestly, just your job is to just move. So
and pray for discernment along the way and for his people to lead you.
So like we said, that's some of our advice for navigating through change, but we don't have it all figured out. So for our last segment, it is called 3 Wise Women. The name was created by our podcast producer, Freddie Annie. And it's like the 3 wise men, but 3 wise women. And so basically we asked 3 wise women in our life who we thought are really good with this topic to write in some pieces of advice for being in your 20s and navigating through change. So
yeah, and these women, they're a few steps ahead of us. They're like moms in our lives, big sisters in our lives. A lot of the things we've learned, even when it comes to navigating change, has been sitting with them, crying, and so they dropped some bombs. I'm not gonna lie. These are good. And so we're just going to read through what each one said. We might have a few additional thoughts to it. But yeah, listen in.
Wise woman number one
said, I thrive on structure, but when change happens, it makes me anxious. The biggest lesson I've learned is that when I feel those emotions, anxiety, irritability, nervousness, I can't bottle them up. I have to talk to God about it. And the first thing I do is just pour it out to him. So my biggest piece of advice in navigating change, don't hold it in. If it makes you feel anxious, nervous, or irritable, talk to the Lord about it. And then talk to your closest person, your partner, your friend, just get it out.
That one's so good. I think that's what we were kind of talking about earlier. Like the importance of when we have emotion, to not stuff it. Like when we fall from expectations or we're struggling to navigate through change, the best thing we can do is process it. And first off, process it before God, which is so hard, at least for me, so hard to just like get in front of him, talk to him, and just let her rip. And
it's so necessary though, because I think sometimes if you are a Christian, you can almost feel like it can be a negative culture of like feeling guilty for having any negative emotion. But it's like God is the one who created us with emotions, and we still live in a fallen world. And so if they come, he already knows you're feeling it. You just have to be honest and get it out there. Otherwise, it'll stay inside and it'll wreak havoc on your body, on your mind.
Turn into a bitter, cold, sick person.
Yes, we don't want that.
We don't want that. And we've been there.
Yep. That's wise woman number one.
What a wise woman. I love that woman.
She's awesome. Okay, wise woman number two. Girl has gone through so much transition. And so this one is very, very relatable.
Girl too, she's literally held our hand through what is our biggest life transition that we're going through right now. And so we knew she had to give some words of advice.
Yeah. So she said, change is instant, but transition takes time. In your 20s, a lot of changes happen quickly. Moving, starting a job, breakups, marriage. But the transition, the process of adjusting, takes much longer. One thing I've learned is understanding when you are transitioning. Before it, during it, or after the change. If you feel grief or a loss a year after a move, you might just be someone who transitions later.
That's so good. I feel like that's something that isn't talked about, is everyone is going to navigate so differently. And we've seen that in our life so many times where I'm a quick, or at least so far.
You've been quick to process.
I've been quick to process. And so sometimes that like is spooky, when you're feeling those emotions just right away. And Meg, you're a little bit more like...
It can take me time to process. And
sometimes no.
Sometimes not. But I think there is times where something won't hit me for a month or 2 months or after it. And so I think it's good to give myself grace in that, but also not be scared when those emotions come if they do come later.
Yeah. And one of the best things you can do in a relationship, like for us, is to just respect each other when we are transitioning. Yeah. And so that's been something you've done really well, is just like respecting where I'm at and like knowing that we might not be transitioning at the same time. Yeah. And sometimes I think that's the grace of God.
Yeah, for sure. We've always said as friends that rarely does the Lord let both of us like be in the pit or in the thick of like grief or hard emotions at the same time, so that we can support each other and encourage each other. And so it really has been his grace over this season of there is a lot of transition and change and grief in it, but we usually aren't experiencing it at the same time.
Yeah, that's such a good piece of advice. I feel like that's going to be freeing for some people.
For sure. Okay, our last wise woman said, change can be scary because it forces you out of a comfortable place, but embracing it opens the door to new opportunities for growth and maturity. Trust the process. God is moving you into a new season for a reason. Change is not a setback, it's a blessing in disguise. Lead with gratitude, even small joys. A cozy coffee shop near your new home or a friend at a new job can make change feel less daunting. Change creates resilience. Just like stretching a muscle, stepping out of your comfort zone prepares you to bounce back stronger from life's challenges. And lastly, don't be afraid to be uncomfortable.
Oh, dang, there's so much there. That's so good.
I think it is so true, though. I think this is her piece of advice is honestly such a good piece of advice for embracing change. Like, okay, change is inevitable, but how do we embrace it with gratitude and with seeing the good in it and seeing the blessing of it and how to make it feel less scary.
We have a choice to receive blessing or not.
Yeah, that's
like
good.
In so many circumstances, we can either make it the thing that literally kills us, or we can make it something that is beautiful and good, but it's our job to see the good in it. And so honestly, that's something that I feel like, especially this time of year, we go through the winter and, you know, it's cold and dry and hard, and it's like, where is the joy at? And we actually have to like find it and cultivate it. And I love that so much. The simplicity of like a coffee shop or a friend you meet and just, or like a sense of home. Like that's all so good.
Yeah. And the learning how to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Gosh, I think that is one of our biggest challenges here in America is we are so surrounded by pleasure and comfort that any little thing that disrupts that can feel so massive, and we can just like want to numb or want to cover it up. And we have the opportunity to do that with all of the comforts around us. And so you can just numb it and not actually feel it, and to actually like be okay with it and embrace it is so good.
Totally. Yeah, that's so good. There's so many good pieces of advice, and I feel like we could continue this conversation forever.
Yeah.
But we hope today that you just at minimum feel like you're not alone as you navigate through change. And we do hope that you don't stay in the place that you are today. Whether you're really good at processing through change and navigating through it, that's awesome. We hope that you're able to stretch your muscles and to grow stronger, like one of the wise women said, to, you know, build muscle and get better. And maybe to those who struggle with change, we just want you to know, first off, it's okay. It's really real. We've been there. But we hope that you don't stay in that place, because you have the ability to grow and to step more into the fullness of life. And we want that for you so bad. And we've been there, and this world needs you to even just step into the fullness of yourself and to process through the change. And so we're like, hopefully, voices of encouragement in your life to go feel those emotions and to go do the healthy thing and embrace the change. So that's on navigating change.
Yes.
But we thought we wanted to close our podcast with something a little bit more fun and lighthearted.
Yeah, I think we need that too.
We need that too. And so our sweet little podcast producer, Freddie Annie. I'm just trying to call her Freddie Ann.
Freddie Ann.
She, okay, in the spirit of bachelorette weekend.
Yes.
We had Annie and ChatGPT come up with some bachelorette party theme ideas that maybe are new and fresh and a little bit different than maybe the, you know, the popular things going around on TikTok. And so we haven't seen these bachelorette party themes, but I'm about to read them, and we're going to give our takes on whether or not they're good or they're not. So here we go. First one. All right. Tropic like it's hot. Pineapples, flamingos, beach vibes.
That's good.
I love that.
That's catchy.
I
wasn't sure where that was gonna go for a second, but that's good. I feel like if you live in like a beachy area, tropical area, you could embrace that so hard.
Yeah, but if you live in Wisconsin, you can't do tropic like it's hot. No. That's so embarrassing.
No.
Unless you go to Wisconsin Dells, that
would actually be iconic.
Okay, done are the days of just like cutesy little bachelorette party themes.
Yeah.
I feel like we're gonna start seeing some like chuggy gaudy bachelorette party themes, and we're gonna embrace it with open arms, because Wisconsin Dells Water Park would be a vibe.
What a vibe. Oh my gosh, Liv, maybe we'll do that for you one day.
Tropic like it's hot.
Tropic like it's hot.
I wouldn't mind a Wisconsin Dells. I'm really all about a good time.
Yeah, that would actually be so fun. Oh, I love that one. That was good.
Okay, this one may be a little bit more, let's say, conservative, but we got disco cowgirl.
Okay.
Glitter, pink cowboy hats, 70s vibes. I'll give your honest opinion, Meg.
Hot take, I think that one has been done.
I think we can get more
the
creative,
years.
ladies.
I think we can get more creative. And so if you want to do a disco cowgirl theme, go for it by all means. But
Do you want to know what I would say to that? Embrace one or the other harder. So if you're going to go disco, I want you to really lean into it. Like, I want to full blown, like, have it be a true disco party. I want, like, the 70s outfits. Wait, is that the era? 70s?
Yeah, 70s.
I want it to be
Full blown
disco. I want you guys to do your hair like the 70s.
That's good.
And if you're going to go cowgirl, I want you to send it. Go
cowgirl.
ride some horses. Like, feel the Western
Run
vibes.
through a field.
And you're going to a line dancing class. But combining the two, we're over it.
That's good. I agree.
All right, number 3. This one's so good. Sail before the veil. Nautical theme, boat, beach weekend.
Wait, love.
That would actually be such
We
a vibe
should
for
use
you.
that for the pre-wedding weekend theme.
Yes.
So before Nathan and I's wedding, we're going up to my family's cabin for 2 days to just have lake day, boat
Yes.
days, be in the sun, all hang out with the wedding party and immediate family. So actually, I think I'm going to steal that.
Yeah, and you
Sail
guys did a
before
lot
the
of
veil.
sailing and stuff growing
Yeah, we
up
have a
with your family
sailboat,
friends.
and so
that would actually be so
sweet. Wait, I love.
Oh,
Thanks, Chatty.
Oh, thanks, Chatty. That was some good advice. Okay, number 4. Last fling before the ring. Classic, sparkly, sophisticated.
You go, Liv.
Okay. I think we could last fling before the ring. I
It's
don't
catchy.
know, guys. It's cute, but like last fling before the ring. Maybe I just need a mood board to like really set the
That's
tone.
fair.
But
I'm not obsessed.
yeah, I'm not obsessed either. But maybe it's just because I don't have enough of a vision built. But how do you feel about these fun little names? I have mixed feelings about them.
I do too. I don't know. I feel like if you do it, you have to embrace it. I mean, this weekend was called Girls Gone Mild.
Right.
And we embraced that hard.
Yeah, we were mild.
So-
as I'll get up, that's for sure.
I don't know. It's fun. It sets the tone for
It sets the
everybody.
tones. We need a
which is
vision.
helpful. People, need a vision.
Some of the names get cheesy though.
That's true.
Okay, number 5, we're ending it with Barbiecore.
Oh, pink everything.
So I loved the Barbie movie. I'll say it.
It was
I loved
so
it.
good.
And if there's one thing I also love, it's the color pink. I think Barbiecore could be fun. I think you got to get creative with it though. Just by wearing pink and having a bachelorette sign that's in the Barbie font just is not going to do it for me. But if everyone's dressing up as a separate Barbie, like we got a pregnant Barbie, whoever your pregnant friend is in the group, she comes as pregnant Barbie. You got Dr. Barbie. Like if we're like really like just embracing it to its core and like finding the good goofy edge in it, I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
But like just to wear pink and have a font, the Barbie font, I'm just like,
That's fair. You got it. You have to. I feel like that's like the whole key thing.
You gotta
with
go
the
hard.
Bachelorette is you have to go hard. Like the harder you go, the more fun it is, and everyone just like gets into character,
Yes.
and it's a good time.
And maybe this is just because it's us, but I think you gotta find the goofy side in it. Like
Yes.
just the plain cutesy bachelorette themes. They're fun, but you gotta like bring out the inner child
You
and
do.
find like the goofy things.
silly games. Do the cheesy like goofy games.
Goofy games.
It's
We
fun.
did that this weekend and it was so refreshing.
Yes, where you just belly laugh or like who's gonna throw up because we're all laughing so hard.
For sure. So honestly, whatever you're into, we support in terms of bachelorette themes, but just make sure you're finding some good laughs in the midst of it all.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
well, this was fun. Bachelorette themes.
Yes, I love
And we
it.
got one that we're gonna use for Meg too.
Yeah, that was
So-
great. That was productive.
Well, sweet. Well, that concludes our episode 3 of the 20s podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and give us a rating so that people can see our podcast when they search it. And we'd love for you to leave a little comment in the comments below about maybe topics or themes that you would like to see on the podcast. So leave us a comment and we'll add it to our list of topics that we're going to be sharing. But
We'll see you guys next Wednesday.
see you Wednesday.
Bye.